Welcome to the P.A.S. Report podcast. If you're tired of censorship, outraged by government abuses, and thirsty for real insights, then you're in the right place. Get ready, because here, the fight for freedom never ends. Here's your host, Professor Nick Giordano.
Monologue time. The Board of Trustees at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill just voted to defund their diversity, equity, and inclusion program. I know. Defund. I love when their own rhetoric comes back to bite them in their fat asses. $2.3 million in UNC funds will be moved from that leftist boondoggle to campus police and public safety efforts. That's right. Policing. They're refunding the police, so suck on that, commies. The only way it would sting even more is if they threw a few grand toward a barbecue and beer fest for the frat fellas who saved Old Glory. Get a lot of applause. But it's great news for students who want a good education, and bad news for blue-haired blobs and race hustlers who want easy paychecks. CNN might hire them. Hell, I mean, they were dumb enough to hire Gayle King. Unnecessary. And that's just the next step. 1 month after the entire UNC system of schools moved to repeal and replace their DEI policy. UNC's move comes in the wake of anti-Semitic riots on their campus and other colleges across the country, where spoiled brats culturally appropriated scarves from Arabs and tents from lesbians. So did these colleges do this to themselves, you think? Did their maniacal focus on race produce an entire generation of bigots who are now unemployable? Well, does Joy Behar in the woods? The same thing is happening at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT, Cat, which is no longer requiring diversity statements from prospective employees, although they still have to be virgins. Nerds. As MIT President Sally Kornbluth put it, compelled statements impinge on freedom of expression and they don't work. Well, thanks, Sally. Where have you been the past 10 years? I've known that forever, and I'm not smart enough to get into DeVry, much less your nerd factory. It looks like Sally got the message. Remember, she's the only prez to survive the congressional butt-kicking from Elise Stefanik, where former honchos from UPenn and Harvard couldn't identify anti-Semitism if it grew a tiny mustache and invaded Poland. So the backlash is growing, and it's revealing more than Lizzo after a trip to Victoria's Secret. I approve that photo. But we now see that DEI was just a camouflaged racist revenge plot. If you look like the people from the past we're told to hate, now we're going to punish you for it. It's just an old bigotry cloaked as progress. But I hate to remind the kids who think they know history, Congress passed a law called the Civil Rights Act of 1964. That's back when Pelosi still had feeling in her face. And it forbade discrimination on the basis of sex and race in hiring, promoting, and firing. See, DEI actually reversed that, and we weren't supposed to notice, but we did. That's why, as the Washington Post points out, a lot of companies are removing all references to DEI, including Kohl's, Eli Lilly, Starbucks, and Coors. And as Anheuser-Busch has learned, Americans just want a beer, not a lecture to come with it, especially if the broad doing the finger wagging also wags a penis. And whether students know it or not, this trend is going to help them because companies won't hire the enemy. No one wants to hire a fresh Columbia law grad bathed in DEI hate, just as you wouldn't throw a live grenade into your own barracks. Plus, it's nice to know that you were hired for your talent, experience, and skill, not because you looked like a plus-size model from a Benetton ad. And it's also great news for companies. The hiring pool just got deeper and wider than Stormy Daniels' lies. Stormy Daniels lies. You can now hire the most competent applicant and not worry about hiring a brainwashed Marxist who thinks 2 + 2 = racist. But there are okay. I can rest. But there are holdouts. One group, the Society for Human Resource Management, thinks just moving the letters DEI around will do the trick. They replaced the term DEI with IED. Yes, IED. What's that normally stand for? Improvised explosive device. Great marketing, guys. IED. I guess STD was already taken. But it's actually closer to the truth than they realize. Leave an IED at a school or in work and it'll blow the whole place up. But when a society focused on human resources thinks you solve a problem by hiding it, it's time maybe to rethink human resources. Just move some letters around? Okay, let's do it for you. From now on, human resources becomes each user mourns. All right. Smattering, just a smattering. But sorry, guys, even if P. Diddy changed his name to D. Pity, nothing's changed. He's still going by person of interest. So we hate to tell you, Society for Human Resource Management, IED is like a president with a new colostomy bag. It's just a different container for the same old. Nick, you're from the academia, the world of academia. Am I like blowing the horn too soon? Is this stuff actually going out the door?
Well, first I want to thank the inclusivity of Gutfeld to allow 2 follically challenged people to appear at the same time. Yeah. With that being said, be suspicious, right? They'll probably rebrand DEI onto something else, repackage it. And, there have been professors and institutions like Campus Reform that have been warning about diversity, equity, inclusion, how it leads to tribalism. Yeah. It leads to people chanting death to America. It's based on anti-Americanism. And I think these institutions, at least some of them, have realized that the movement has gone a little too far when you have a bunch of spoiled, entitled brats screaming that America is a racist and evil country. At the same time, they're calling for intifada and celebrating a organization, a terrorist organization that will destroy Christians, has purged Christians and Jews from its land, and wants to destroy societies, right? I mean, so it really, you see how ironic it is that these leftists have gone too far. Had a better idea than defunding. Mm-hmm. We should take the money that's being used and send all these people to the most horrible places around the world we could find, and I will guarantee you, they will come back with a new appreciation for the United States of America, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, sending them to Chicago is not going to solve any problems. I'm going to go to you first, Tyrus. On day 2 of testimony, Cohen admitted to pressuring Stormy Daniels to lie about the hush money. He also admitted to misleading the Federal Election Commission about the payment. And he also kind of came off as a spurned lover, that he was obsessed with Donald Trump. And when Donald Trump, now he didn't say this, but he didn't get a position in the government, he turned on him and started meeting with investigators while he was in prison. What do you make of all this?
It's confusing because it was fashionable to be the side. You know what I'm saying? He was the side lawyer.
Yeah.
He was the side lawyer, which means he just wasn't allowed to come to the house in front of the family.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And if you can't tell, this is a love story.
Yes,
like,
it is.
He loved too hard, and Trump used him to file some paperwork, which, again, the president made a mistake because when they go back and forth, and this is where I got to kind of go at the president a little bit. You tell us how terrible he was, and he's telling you how terrible you are. But y'all worked together for a long time. Mm-hmm. So the attacking, I think, just isn't working. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait for the jury to come out, because I love to hear how his testimony was riveting. And it was just, at some point, someone just give him a box of tissues. Mm-hmm. Look the president in the eyes, but you broke my heart. I was up all night. My bags were packed. I had already told my friends that I had an office at the White House.
That's exactly.
I got my kids White House dad T-shirts. You ruined everything. You broke my heart.
Yes.
And that's why I'm here. Yes. And then we get it. But the jury's going to come back, and the verdict, I can tell you right now, word for word, what the verdict's going to be. The jury's going to come up, they're going to hand the bailiff, and he's going to go, the jury comes back with, what the we don't know.
Kat, do you sometimes wish that you had someone that cared about you the way Cohen cared about Trump? He admitted to lying out of loyalty and in order to protect him.
I do have someone like that. I'm sorry that you don't.
He does, Gus.
Yeah, Stormy's attorney saying that he thought he was going to kill himself because he didn't get the job. That's a meltdown that I can picture.
Yeah.
I can see the flurry of text messages that were being sent. And it's also like the guy's a convicted perjurer. I mean, there's big witness. It's just none of it makes sense. It's gone on for so long. And to me, it's so remarkable how something involving, sex and power and betrayal is this boring at the end of the day.
Because and they don't even know the charge yet. They don't even know the charge yet. It's about an entry into an expense, a legal expense.
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
Logging in a legal expense
There you go.
that they couldn't do it any other way because there was no way to do it. So there's actually no.
I haven't heard them talking about that.
No, they haven't. Nicholas, have you been following this? You better. But it's like he's a known perjurer. How can anybody take him seriously? This is all a vendetta.
Well, I've been following this closely, and I'm starting to think that the district attorney, Alvin Bragg, is really a closet MAGA supporter. I mean, how else do you explain this trial? It's completely ridiculous. Everyone sees what it is, that you're using the weight of government to target one person that you dislike. But I do have to give a thank you, because I've been teaching nearly 20 years, and I never thought I'd be able to bring porn stars into the classroom and talk about that. I got Hunter Biden and his crack and sex addiction, the whodunit with the cocaine in the White House. I mean, politics in 2024 has gotten really interesting. The only thing I wish is that this trial was televised. I think that would add a new element to it, where we could watch it on TV. But I'm starting to think that at first it was maybe a hung jury. Now I'm starting to think that the jury may actually, a New York jury, only Democrats could do this, a New York jury actually goes with a not guilty verdict based on what we've heard.
Yeah, I mean, there could be an opportunity that it doesn't even go to a jury. I heard Jonathan Turley say that before he left for work. Oh, beautiful. All right. I condemn everything everybody just said. I just want you to know that. Up next, Pelosi can't contain her elitist disdain. Awesome. All right. Pelosi may be great at trading stocks, but she sucks at giving talks. Our video of the day comes to us from former House Speaker and current wax figure Nancy Pelosi, who recently spoke at an Oxford Union debate. That's in England, Kat. She argued that Americans who see themselves as populists are just poor souls looking for answers. Watch.
We've seen demagogues come down the pike, destroy the press. What do the Republicans say? Fake news. So they're diminishing that in the eyes of these poor souls who are looking for some answers. We've given them to them, but they're blocked by some of their views on guns. They have the 3 Gs, guns, gays, God.
Guns, gays, God.
How I use my Gs.
Yeah. It was an echo of Obama's comment that working class voters cling to guns or religion, except the only thing clinging to Nancy are her eyebrows. Nicholas, it's always kind of the same refrain. It's like, oh, these poor, ignorant masses, if they were only smart enough to see how great the Democrats are.
Well, it's the elitist attitude, that they forgot what public service is all about, that they're there to serve the public. Instead, they think they're there to rule over the public. And I think with Nancy Pelosi, you see that elitist attitude, even back when she made the salon open up to get her hair done during COVID. Yeah. Meanwhile, I had to give my kids haircuts, and they look like Jim Carrey for Dumb and Dumber. and then she masked up her servants as she held this big, lavish fundraiser. So it shows that these politicians have the let them eat cake attitude, where it's not about ordinary people in the plight, but who's really to blame? Is it them, or is it the people that keep on putting people like this in power? And I think we have to start looking internally where they're denigrating us time and time again. They're constantly talking down to us as if we're children and we don't know what's in our best interest. And yet there's so many people that will go and just reelect them back into office. So at some point we have to blame ourselves.
It's just name recognition.
Crystal Kelly, and this is local news where every guest has to share a story from wherever they're from. Jim, why don't you go first?
Thank you very much. This is. Did they show the little video of the little duck that escaped in the school? There was a little duck that was running through the school, and it was like no one knew what to do, and they had to finally wrangle it up, and they did free it. And it reminded me of something happening like this in high school. I was a hero. I was a local hero in North Brunswick. There was puppies. There was like somebody had left them overnight, and they got out of the box, and there was like 7 of them, and no one knew what to do. And I called Christy Nome, and she raced right over with a blowtorch and 2 golf clubs.
Wouldn't it have been so much easier if she came on the show? She just came on the show. All right, Nicholas, why don't you go?
Well, I chose a campus reform story because it's amazing reporting when you find out that a person that was convicted of murder and bludgeoning someone to death was allowed to sit on a college campus for nearly a week in one of these encampments. And yet it's the same people that say words are violence that want to ban, people like Riley Gaines, and they shout down people like Heather McDonald, yet they allowed a murderer, and it took the college a week. A bludgeoner,
nonetheless.
Exactly. With a blunt force object, no less. And it took the campus a week to finally kick him off, but it just shows you how far off the rails some of these people in academia have gone and how far off the rails the students are, where they'll accept someone like that, but if you mispronounce someone, you're Satan.
That's great. If I was in college and somebody was like, "Oh, I killed a bunch," I'd be like, "Ha ha ha!" Like I wouldn't believe it.
I'd be like,
"Why are you here if you're a bludgeoner?" Tyrus, why don't you go next?
With a blunt force object.
Yeah.
Speaking of blunt force objects,
skull fractures.
Ingrid's son Rhett. So we had it's time for a new segment. Tyrus' stowaway. Yes. So, as many of you know, I have a zoo menagerie, and every once in a while we get a stowaway, somebody who tries to join the team. But we take our immigration very seriously at my zoo, and we had a little bit of an issue where someone tried to come across into our border, and we caught her, covered her up. Now listen, do not try this at home. You only can learn this if you grew up in the swamps of Louisiana. And because we have more than one son, I was fine with him doing this. So we caught her, we taped it up. Turns out the reason why she was hanging around is she had a really bad injury. She had fishing line that was wrapped around her foot to the point where her foot was falling off. So Rhett cut the fishing line off her, and then we set her on her way. But he used an old school rope and string. We caught her. He was very proud of himself. And I said, well, this doesn't excuse not going to college, but, I mean, it's a start.
I was just going to say, my parents never let me do anything.
Oh, no, because if you get eaten by an alligator, it's an act of God.
Greg?
Would you rather me bludgeon them? Would that be better?
This is a happy story. I don't know if you remember the story about these Bay Area school students. I think they're from St. Francis, Mountain View High School. They were expelled from school because they were accused of wearing blackface in an old picture, when it turned out they were wearing acne face masks for their skin.
I remember this.
Well, they were just awarded $1 million in tuition. 2 students. They were awarded $1 million in tuition reimbursement after they were expelled.
Wait, 2 students got the money? What happened to the third guy?
Well, he was actually in blackface. No, kidding. I don't know what happened to the third student.
Maybe
All right,
he wasn't a student. Was he a student? The third
yeah,
guy?
might not have been a student.
Right.
But anyway, that was saying. Thank you, Jim, for supplying that fact. So they got $500,000 each. And it was St. Francis High School. So there you go. Maybe that'll teach people to stop trying to cancel people for things they didn't do.
That's a good message. All right. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to the P.A.S. Report. Don't forget to rate, share, and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll never miss an episode. For more exclusive content and updates, visit us at PASreport.com and follow Professor Giordano on all social media platforms at P.A.S. Report.